Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hand Spinner Review Spot YouTube channel. You can click in the description box below to go to the Facebook page where you can find all manner of different reviews and article items on everything hand spinner. Today we're going to look at something that's been probably the most requested thing since I've released the channel to the public, which is this guy here, the Rotablade tri-stubby. We've already done a video on the original stubby, and this one came not that long ago. As it happens, I was lucky enough to be the first person to handle one of these aside from Paul at Rotablade, and it was this one here. There is a full written review up on the Facebook page, like I said earlier, so you can go over there and take a look at that and read up and see all sorts of different images. But today we're going to have a close look at these and also have a look at a rather beautiful exotic version that has been available on a few drops on the Rotablade website. So, before we get really deeply into this particular piece, let's have a look at some size comparisons. Sorry, yes, I am moving the pretty Damasteel version out of the way. Right, so we have obviously the tri-stubby. We'll put a Vorso flat top, review coming soon. There we go, an Axis Micro. We'll put a Turnian by NTO Designs there. We'll put in a Portal by Random Fabrications, and we'll stick a torque bar in there as well. So you've got a really good idea of the size of the tri-stubby. It is still a small spinner in the same way that the stubby is, but I think it's become quite a common size. As you can see, it's very similar indeed to the size of the Axis Micro, which in many regards would be considered one of the best sizes you could have for any spinner, let alone a tri-spinner. So yeah, it's a good size. It works very, very well. Let's move all these to one side and have a closer look at the tri-stubby itself. Oh, I tell you what I should do though, is put it next to a stubby. That would make sense, wouldn't it? So there we go, that's next to a stubby. As you can see, overall it looks relatively small in comparison, but in actual fact, the way that Paul did these was he balanced the weights almost exactly between the two designs. So when you look, if you for example at the moment are carrying a stainless steel stubby and you move over to a stainless steel tri-stubby, or you get one of those as well, you're looking at very, very similar weight and a very similar spin time as a result. So that was a bit of Mocha-type porn there. So yeah, when I was originally showing the pictures of these, they originally went up on the Rotablade Facebook group. I was slightly perturbed, and the reason for that was because Paul had decided to do a larger diameter than the ones you see here. The arms were slightly more elongated. I didn't think it was particularly attractive, but equally I have huge faith in everything that Paul is doing, generally speaking. So I thought that if it was what he was going to go for, and particularly after he'd done some 3D printed prototypes to check, if it worked, it worked. Thankfully, he must have also felt somewhat similar, because he decided to do a slightly smaller, more compact version. This is the same spinning radius as the original stubby, 50mm, and I instantly liked the design much more. That said, I did still have some other reservations, particularly the slight pointiness of the lobes, as you can see on a stubby. I'm sorry, this is gratuitous stubby nonsense here. You can see they're flat at either end. On the tri-stubby, he decided to give them a much more pointed finish and round them somewhat, which is very attractive, but I was concerned it might make these less ergonomic than you might hope. One of the main detractors that people have with the stubby, although it's not something that I tend to agree with hugely, is that people say it's not the best fidget spinner in the world because of the fact that the ends of the arms are a bit wide and you can't catch it very easily at different points. I generally don't find that. I find that if you get your timing right and you get used to handling a stubby, that goes away. But I was concerned that this design might not remedy that quite as much as I think some people were hoping it would. However, when I received this is the prototype, this is the first metal tri-stubby that was ever produced, and I'm extremely lucky to have it in my collection. I was instantly won over. All of my misgivings about it went away straight away. The moment I picked it out of the package, I gave it a few spins and I felt how easy it was to catch and release. I just knew it was a home run, and yeah, it really is. There's not an awful lot negative to say in this review. I sort of wish there was, because I I do really like Rotablade products, and I don't ever want to come across as being biased. I hope, as you'll see in all of my reviews, I try to list the pros and cons as best I possibly can, but there isn't an awful lot negative to say for my personal tastes for this or the standard stubby. But let's go through it. So, it has Rotablade's now really ubiquitous curves and angles. The whole piece itself is a concave dish that runs from the wider outside arms into where the button is, so the button sits lower within the body. Nothing on here is a sharp angle or edge. You couldn't even call them chamfers because there's so many little radius cuts in there that it's really a flowing, smooth line. There's nothing uncomfortable about this spinner. I don't think many people will have problems with any hot spots or anything like that. And because I know you'll all want to see it, this is the Damasteel version. These are now starting to go out, I believe. This is a heavy etched custom version. These aren't generally available, but I think it looks very pretty like that. And if you really want to have a deep etched version, you can send yours to customizers and that sort of thing as well. This, as you can probably tell, has got a Damasteel button on it as well, or a Damasteel inlaid button. This one had a superconductor inlaid button. So yeah, it's the same story here, so I can use this one just as much as the other. It feels fantastic to fidget with. It's maybe not quite so perfectly catch and release as an Axis Micro or maybe an NTO Designs Turnian, but it's very, very, very close, and it will give you some extra spin time on both of those. It's extremely smooth. It's up there in smoothness with the NTO, with a Zero Feud Compass, which for me is still the benchmark of smoothness. It doesn't have the quietness that you might get from something like a Trillium, but it's certainly not a really noisy spinner by any means. It's just so good in so many different ways, this. There's very, very little that I can say about it that's negative. The buttons are typical stubby buttons. If you've used them before, you'll know whether or not they work for you. It does accept a whole range of different R188 buttons from different spinners or from the aftermarket, whether you're going sort of really exotic Modus Works or Pos Blades or something like that. It takes all manner of different things, but it just works in every way. And I'm coming to the downsides here, and there's not an awful lot that I can add. It just feels really, really beautiful to use. It could be a slightly quieter spinner. Rotablade's pieces aren't the quietest on the market, and that's just the nature of the design. But it's just, if I roll it around my finger, the stainless steel ones in particular, I think are really beautiful when they're spinning. I mean, it catches the light so well, and I'm just rolling this around on my finger now. It's not the actual spinner moving, it's me doing that. And it just looks fantastic. So if you want quite a hypnotic kind of spinner that you can kind of zone out to or relax with, I think they're excellent. They're a really wonderful blend of spin time and fidgetability, performance, comfort, I mean, almost everything. And you can see you can spin it really consistently. It's just a great hand spinner. And sure, if you're crazy enough to want to spend the sums of money and sit there when the drops come up and feverishly try and snag one of the exotic versions, yeah, they're very pretty as well. Thank you very much, guys. I wish I could give you more of a downside, to be absolutely honest, but Paul knocked it out of the park with this one, and I think most people that have theirs in hand now would probably agree. Thanks very much. See you at the next review. Bye-bye.